I'd just like to share with you an experience that I had many years ago, which could be described as a guitar player's or musician's injury. And it's, trust me, it's something that you do not want. Namely, what I had was a frozen shoulder, what's known as a frozen shoulder, or actually had two frozen shoulders. But it's very painful. It's very painful. You lose the mobility in your shoulder joint. You can't, well, in my case, I couldn't lift my arm up any higher than this at all without it being excruciatingly painful. And it took a long time, maybe a year, to get it straight. Sometimes you can get a frozen shoulder, you can get it from trimming the hedge or the things that you're not used to, you know, which usually involves holding your arms up like this for long periods of time. If you cut some shears, cutting a hedge or something like that, you're holding your two shoulders up all the time for a long period of time. And this is what can happen if you're not careful with playing the guitar. Because when you practice, like if I put my foot, I use a toolbox. I use my cables box actually instead of a stool. It's much more stable. If you take a typical classical position like this, you don't have to, but you can drift into the position of holding your arm up like this all the time, holding your arms up. Your left arm, if you're left-handed, if you're right-handed, that is, especially holding your arm like this. And if you're playing scales down the bottom here or doing something in this first position, a lot of the time you're holding your arm up like this all the time. So the thing to avoid is do not sit and play like this, because that can lead to a frozen shoulder, which it did in my case. And you don't have to hold your arm up like that all the time. You don't have to, but it can be a habit when you're trying to do it in that position. But actually, I just take a more relaxed approach. Play flamenco mostly, and I could sit with my legs cross-legged like this, and my arm then is hanging down pretty relaxed, and I can, you know, play without holding my arm up at the shoulder. So obviously in the classical position like this, you don't hold it up all the time like that. When you're in the higher registers, it's fine, but you play quite a lot down here. So how I got it in my right arm, I don't really know, but I did. So I just play in this more relaxed position now. But even if you play in a different position, avoid holding your shoulders up like that. Took me about a year to get right. And another tip is to keep your mobility going if you can, even though it's very painful. You have to keep the mobility in your shoulder, because a frozen shoulder can be permanent. It can get so that you lose the mobility in your shoulder. So force it to come up and move your shoulder round to get full mobility in that shoulder joint. It will hurt a lot, but do it so that you can keep on doing it. An old friend of mine who's no longer with us, he actually formed, he put a pulley in the ceiling in his shed with a piece of rope through it and a couple of loops on the ends, and he held each end so that when he pulled this one was hoisted up, and then so on like that, because in doing so you're using this downward motion to make that shoulder go up, and it doesn't hurt then because you're not using the muscle or tendons in that shoulder. It's being pulled up by the other arm. So that's a useful tip if it ever happens to you. Hope it doesn't, but don't get a frozen shoulder. It's not very nice. Thanks for watching.